In this lesson, we'll talk about action bars. Action bars are a relatively new feature that provide a toolbar interface at the top of a screen. They are created primarily with tablets in mind, but can also be used in phone apps. Action bars are only supported in version 3 and up, so the first thing we need to do is to set our project properties appropriately. By default, Android 2.2 will be called out for the version, but we need that to be higher, so we will set it at Android 3.1. Next, what we're going to do in this application, we're going to create a parent form with an action bar and a child form with an action bar, and we'll be able to go from one to the other. The parent will have some other buttons on it as well to show us some action bar options. And the child is just a basic child without anything else to it. And then we have a custom button resource. And this is going to be a custom button that we're going to put on the action bar to go to the child. And very simply, all it is a button resource. Most of the fun happens in the activity, so let's take a look at that. We create a view for that custom button resource that we're going to use later. And then we hook our button events, the home, the show home, the show title, and the show custom, and we'll take a look at what each one of those does. And then we'll take our custom view and we'll do a thing called layout inflating. And what that means is we'll take our resource from custom button and we'll inflate that into an actual object. And we'll take our action bar and set the custom view equal to that custom view. And there are a few parameters that go along with that. We're saying we're going to wrap content on that custom view. So it won't fill up the entire width of the parent. It will only wrap right around that button. So let's take a look at our button click events. Our first button is called Home as Up, which basically indicates that the home button that will be all the way to the left on the action bar will also have a little arrow indicator essentially saying that this is a child form, and if you click this button we're going to take you up a level. We have a method called add action bar flag, and all of these flags that we're going to be setting can be used in conjunction with each other. So that's what we're doing within this, and ultimately we're setting our display options with the flags. We have a show home click button, which, as you would expect, shows or hides the home button. We have a show title click, and again it shows or hides the title. And finally we have a show custom click. It shows or hides that custom button that we're creating. In addition, we're going to create a click handler for that button. And we can only do that if this custom view is shown. If it's not shown, the rest of this code will blow up, because when we attempt to find this resource, it won't be available and we'll end up with a null object for this custom. So if it is shown, we'll create a click handler for that custom view. And in that click handler, we're going to do a thing called start activity. And this is where we're going to create an activity for our second child form. And we'll do that by creating a new intent. And we're going to talk about intents and activities in a later lesson, but this is the very beginning of it. So we can start an activity by creating a new intent, passing in the parameter of the activity that we want to start. Finally, if the home button is selected, we want to go back to the home screen. So in this case, we're defining our top class as activity 1. That's our main form. And if our class is not the top class, then we create an intent and we add the flags that we're going back to the top, and we start that activity. So essentially, if we're on the child form, we're going to say, oh, we're not on the activity 1 form, and we'll create an intent and start the activity 1 all over again. So we'll essentially just go back from the child to the parent. So let's take a look at what this looks like when it runs. So here are my 4 buttons. And here's display home as up. It has the little arrow. We'll take that off because it's not appropriate on this form. I either show or hide that home icon. And I can show or hide the actual title text. And finally, I can show that custom view button. If I click the custom view, I will indeed go to the child form, and I have an action bar set up on the child form, same as the rest. And you'll note that it has the back approach for that home. And when I click on that, I go back to the parent form. So after all that code, that's what we've ended up with action bars. But you can see some of the things that you can do. The interesting thing is, for that custom view, you can put anything you want in here. It's often common to put in little icons like this, but you can put in any kind of view you wish, and in fact you can put in drop-down menus. So action bars can be quite powerful.